Hello and welcome, my name is Ryan, I'm also known as RM2 Dev. Just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who's chipping in on Patreon. I really can't continue to run the channel without your support, so thanks a lot guys. If you can help support the channel, head over there for some awesome rewards. The project files for this video will be available for download. I'll leave a link in the description to where you'll be able to find that. And last but not least, today we are going to be making a simple top-down two-dimensional shooter with the RM2 Framework, which is an asset that I released onto the marketplace recently, and I just want to show you how simple it really is to get your games up and running. So with that said, here we go. Okay, so getting started, the first thing I'm going to do is drag in some assets. I have some assets here that I've downloaded from opengameart.org, a fantastic website where you can find free graphics like this. I'm just going to be using the zombie and the survivor with a gun and the tile sheet for this episode. So I'm going to drag in the zombie and the survivor with the gun. I'm going to go ahead and rename the survivor with the gun to SPR_player. And then I'll go ahead and set the offset here to middle center. Then moving down to our zombie, I'm going to go ahead and change this to SPR_zombie. And again, we'll do the same thing by setting this to middle center. So now we have two sprites in the room. The next thing we need to do is bring in our tile set. I'll just bring this in as a sprite. I'm going to name this here SPR_tiles. Then I'm going to head down to the tile sets option here in the right hand menu and select create tile set. I'm going to call this TS_main, and this is going to represent the main tile set in our game. The next thing I'll do is I'll click the three dots next to the no sprite button, and I'll select the sprite that represents our tile set over here. And then we can go ahead and change the tile set properties. I believe these are 48 by 48 size tiles. No, they might be 64 by 64. There we go. So those were 64 by 64 size tiles. I'm just going to select that, and that will set our tile set up to be usable in our game. Very easy. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import the RM2 framework. This is a marketplace item, so you can go ahead and find the link in the description to where to get this. Patreon viewers will be able to download the project, and this asset will be included in this project, so you'll be able to get access to that pretty easily just by downloading the file. But just go ahead and once you've got the asset, go to your library, find the asset, it's the RM2 framework, and then just come over here and select import. That's going to ask you what do you want to import. I'm just going to select add all and press import. Then we can close off the GameMaker marketplace. So you'll see we've got this new subgroup here called RM2 Framework, and this exists under scripts, under objects, under rooms, and that's basically it where it exists. That is going to give us access to a bunch of functions that are going to make your life 100 million times easier, guaranteed. So first thing I'll do is I'll get rid of the room that was created with GameMaker, the standard room, and the RM2 framework comes with a main menu and a level 1. If we run the game right now, what you'll find is a very simple window. It has a main menu placeholder. You can select this button, it will fade out and fade in, and we immediately have some demonstration code up and running. We have sprites running away from our player. We have a player that is able to follow the mouse, and we have a sprite which is actually following our player. So that's essentially some of the functions that you'll be able to use with the RM2 framework. I'm going to go ahead and open up level 1. I'll just set the zoom correctly on this, and we're going to remove all of these objects because we don't need them. So let's actually, I'll tell you what, I'll just delete the entire layer, and then I'll add a new instance layer. Might even be even easier. There we go, instances. Cool. So now we have a room, we have a background, we have a blank instances layer, and we're able to transition into that room. RM2 framework will deal with the rest. So let's go ahead and make our game. I'm going to create an object. I'm going to call this here obj_player. And I want this player to have mouse aim movement. Now, we have a input system in RM2 framework called mouse aim. So all we have to do is click on parent, select the parent, go into the RM2 framework, input systems, and select the mouse aim. And then we'll select the sprite. I'm going to use the SPR player image over here. And then we can just come down to our level 1 and go ahead and drag a player onto the screen like that. Now, if all went well, it should be as simple as that. We should have a player that once we get into our game room, now looks at our mouse and follows WS movements. Based on, if I press S and they're aimed the other way, they'll move backwards. If I press W, they'll move forwards. So we have a player up and running. Very simple stuff, very quick, very easy to get up and running. So Moving on, the next thing we'll do is we'll create some zombies. I'm going to create another object. I'm going to call this obj underscore zombie. Then we'll give it the zombie sprite, and this time we'll parent it to, actually no, we won't parent it, we don't need to parent it, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add an event to our zombie now. That is going to be a simple step event. Then in the step, I'm just going to say move towards player. From here, I will essentially use a script in the RM2 framework, which is the move towards function, which is scr move towards. Now, if we go back to our zombie, I would simply just say scr underscore move towards, and then we'll just use obj underscore player.x, obj underscore player.y. Speed is going to be 1, and that is all the parameters that we need for that. Now, if we run our game, we haven't actually put the zombie in the room, that's fine. Nothing will happen. Let's go back to our room and drag a zombie on the screen. Actually, let's drag 2 zombies on the screen. We'll make it extra scary. And then we run our game. What we should have happen is 2 zombies will now walk towards our player. Very simple stuff, very easy to get up and running. Pretty simple, pretty scary looking zombies if you ask me. But that is essentially how easy it is to get this up and running. So, next thing we're going to do, let's give the room a little bit of life. Since we have that tile set, what we can do now is just go down here. I'm going to leave the width and height to, actually no, what I'll do is I'll create a viewport. I'll enable the use of viewports. I'll come down here to viewport 0. I'll enable the first viewport. Then what I'll do is I'll set the width to be 640, which is the same as the room as it is right now. And the height will be 360, I think. Yeah, 360. So that's going to be our viewport. Then what we'll do is we'll say that the viewport will follow our obj player. And the horizontal border, I'm just going to set to 640. The vertical border, 360. And the horizontal and vertical speed can both be left at, tell you what, let's put them at 2. Let's put them at 2. I think that's right. So with the viewport set up, we can come back to our window. Now we can create our game. We can make it look a little bit bigger. I'm just going to go ahead and set the room to be 1,000 by 1,000. That way we have a larger area to work with. I can zoom out so that that fits entirely in our screen over here. And then we can start to create some tile layers. I'm just going to select create new tile layer. Select our tile set, which is TS main. Then I'll select our grass. And we can just use the flood fill tool to completely populate the floor with some grass. Next thing we'll do is we will create some floor. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's have a look. What kind of floors do we have available for use in here? I think we'll go with this little dirt floor. And do we have some dirt borders? That's a good question. What sort of dirt borders do we have? I don't think this tile set has any dirt borders. That's all right. We'll just go ahead and we'll use this one here. We won't use the flood fill this time. We're just going to create some really simple looking paths. I'm not going to worry too much about the graphics in this. It's more or less just a demonstration so you guys can have a look and see how the RM2 framework works. Anyway, so we have some floor. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to rename this layer. Just right click it, select rename. I'm going to name this ground. And then we'll create another tile layer. I'm going to call this one here above player. So let's rename this to above player. Then we can drag our instances layer and stick it below the above player layer and above the ground layer and below the above player layer. With above player selected, go ahead and choose the same tile set again. And then you can come over here and we can start to put down some things that are above the player, like some trees. You know, maybe these are going to be above the player, above the map. You know, we can still pass under them, but they are just going to sort of spread through our game a little bit like that. Next thing we'll do is we'll create another tile layer just above our ground layer here. I'm going to call this one here ground objects. So I'll right click rename, call this one ground objects. Oh, gotta have a space, sorry. Rename ground obj. That'll be fine. I'll give it the same tile set, and then you can go ahead and just design a little map. Very simple stuff. I'm just gonna put some glass shards on the floor, just like that. Over there, put some little leaves that are falling around these trees. Maybe zombies rustling around, you know, leaving behind some leaves on the floor. We'll go ahead and put, what else do we have? We'll go ahead and put this like debris over here near the path. We'll put some different debris nearby. Very simple stuff. There we go. Map's starting to look a little bit more organic. And that will essentially do us, I think, for our maps. Very simple. Let's run our game, have a look, make sure the player, the camera is following, the zombies are there and moving. Now you can see we can move around in our game. Very cinematic as the camera tries to keep up. We can run around, we can hide underneath these bushes. The zombies should be able to follow us underneath the bushes as well. There you go. As you can see, they do. Very simple stuff here. Now, the next thing we need to do is make it so our player can fire a little bullet at the zombies. Then if the zombies are hit by the bullet, we'll detect collisions and we'll just essentially make them go away. So, let's go ahead and create a new sprite. I'm just going to create a really simple... I'm even just going to edit this image myself. Just select resize all frames. And I'm just going to make this 16 by 16. And that's just going to represent our bullet. Very simple sprite. Coming down here in the middle, I'll just draw some sort of bullet looking shape. Doesn't have to be super fantastic. Just something... I don't know. I guess that'll do. Nice little bullet from the gun. Actually, let's make it light orange of some kind, or skin tone color. That'll do. So now we have a sprite that looks like a bullet. Go ahead and center that on the offsets and then just call this SPR_bullet. So we have a player that walks around. We have a mouse aiming system. Next up, we need to make the player shoot bullets. So heading into our player object, just open that one up. Now, what we're going to do is, actually, first of all, let's create a new object. We'll call this obj_bullet, and let's give it the sprite of the bullet as well. There we go. Now, the bullet is going to be very simple. We're just going to say in our create event, we will have a, let's actually just set the description just to say initialize. Then what we'll do is we'll create a variable. We'll just call it direction. I'll just call it shoot. Actually, we'll call it aim dir, and we'll just set it to 0. It's going to stand for aim direction. Then we'll have another one called speed. Actually, we'll call it speed. We'll call it b_speed. We'll set that to 2 for now. Then create a step event, and what we'll do is we'll make the bullet move in the direction of the the aim at the speed that it's moving. So we can go ahead and just do a very simple, I've got to give it a little description as well, move bullet. There we go. Very simple little code in here, just to say that the x dir is going to be equal to length, direction x. The length we're going to use is speed. Actually, we'll call it b_speed. And the direction is going to be, I forgot what we called it. It was called aim dir, AIM_dir. Do the same thing for the y direction. So I'm going to use the length dir y command this time. Now that we have both an x and a y vector, we can go ahead and apply that to its position. So we'll say x plus equals x_dir, y plus equals y_dir. That's going to make our bullet move in a direction. We can test this just by going into our level, going into our resources, and throwing down some bullets. Whoops, you need to be on the instance layer, of course. And just throw down some bullets into the game world and just have a look what that looks like when we run the game. Let's run the game. Let's use our menu system to transition with a nice fade into our game, and you'll see the bullets are automatically moving away from us. Now, those bullets are way too slow. So let's go ahead and speed that b_dir up to, say, 5. That should make them a little bit faster. Now they're moving in a direction. We can say that when they are... Actually, what we'll do is we'll use a timer. So we'll say alarm 0 is going to be equal to... Let's set this to 260 frames. Then in alarm 0, we'll just say instance destroy. This means that after a fixed amount of time, if the bullet hasn't already destroyed itself, it will destroy itself. Sorry, if it hasn't collided with anything and destroyed itself already by, being collided with a zombie's face, then it will destroy itself when that timer fires. That way we don't have an infinite amount of bullets staying in our game. So the bullet is now moving in the direction that it's facing. Right now it's facing right because that is the 0 direction. We can go ahead to our object player now and say that when we click, I'm just going to add a mouse global left pressed event here. We're going to fire a bullet. Fire a bullet in facing direction. Now, let's go ahead and create the bullet. This time, we'll just instantiate an instance of the obj bullet. So we'll say with instance underscore, I spelled that wrong, instance underscore create at depth. We're going to create at the current player's position, which is simply x, y, remembering that the x and y positions are already handled for us by the RM2 Framework's movement scripts. We're going to create it at the depth, whatever the player is at, so we'll just put depth in here, so we don't need to control any of that. And the object we're going to create is obj underscore bullet. Since we're using a with statement, this means that we'll get the ability to change some of the variables for obj bullet. And what we're going to change is simply the b underscore dir, I think we call it. I should have named it something better than that, is aim dir. So we're going to change aim underscore dir. We'll set that to be equal to other dot image angle, which is the angle that our player is currently facing. Other meaning when you're using the with command like we are here, anything inside of our curly braces is going to represent the object that we currently created. So when you say other, we're actually talking about the object that created this instance. So other image.angle is the angle of our player. So I'll go ahead and run our game. What you'll see now when I create bullets that they should fire from our player. Again, the bullets are still too slow. We can see them and follow them on the screen. I don't like that. So we can create bullets now. We are moving as fast as our bullets are moving, so we need to speed them up. Simply go to your bullet object if you're unhappy with the speed and just increase it from 5 to, say, 10. That's the speed at which the bullet is going to move. We can simply test that out now. Now the bullets are much faster. That's better. That's a more acceptable bullet speed, I think. So now we have bullets firing from our player. We have zombies chasing us around on the map. We can simply do some collision testing. So head over to your zombie, simply add a event that says when a collision event with the obj bullet. What we're saying here is that, hey, when I have collided with a bullet, what are we going to do? First of all, we are going to destroy the bullet. So we say with other. Now this time remember that other in the instance of a collision is not the current object. It's the object that we collided with. So other represents the bullet that we just collided with. We simply say instance destroy. What that's going to mean is that when a bullet touches the zombie, it will now destroy itself. Then what we need to do is say my underscore health minus equals 1. So we're going to subtract some health from the zombie. We're going to create a create event. We're going to give it a variable my health because we didn't have one before. I'm just going to set my health to be equal to 10. Actually, that's probably too much. Say 3. So we need to hit the zombies 3 times before they die. So my health minus equals 1. Then we can say if my underscore health is less than or equal to 1, we are simply going to instance destroy this. And now in your games, obviously, you could put some fancy graphics, leave a body behind, do all that sort of stuff. But for this game, I'm just going to destroy the zombie. So let's go ahead and test that and see if it works. Go into our game over here, shoot the zombies 2 times because I used less than or equal to. We need to say equal to 0, sorry. Less than or equal to 0. Less than or equal to 1 means that we have to hit them 2 times because we're counting down from 3. So now we'll have to hit the zombies 3 times in order to destroy them. 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. Zombie down. There we go. We have created a simple system that allows us to essentially shoot at zombies, walk a player around, have a zombie follow our player, and fire bullets. I'll go ahead and remove those bullets that we put on the map just by simply clicking on them and deleting them. There we go. Those are now gone. The final thing that we're going to do is we'll create a zombie spawner. Now, every horror game needs a spawner, and the RM2 framework has you covered as far as spawners are required. We have 2 scripts here, spawn once and spawn repeating. These will take care of all your spawning requirements. We're going to use the spawn repeating function. I'll create a simple object over here. We're going to call this obj underscore zombie underscore spawn. Then what we do is we parent the zombie spawn to the repeating spawner. Let's go into spawners and select spawn repeating. And if we have a look at the code for the repeating spawner, look at the create, what we need to do is we need to do an instance to create a variable. You can adjust the spawn time as well, but I'm going to leave that as default for now. So over in our spawner, we add a create event. We simply do an event underscore inherited, which basically means that run the code in my parent. Since my parent is the spawner, it will set up the it'll set the spawn timers up. Then we just say instance to create equals obj underscore zombie. So now what happens is every 100 frames a new zombie will be created. We can head over to our game, go to our instances layer, go to our resources. We can just drag our zombie spawners now under our trees. And if we need to see that, I'll just turn the above trees layer off so we can see them. I'll put some zombie spawners down here. I'll put one over here and one just in this tree over here. And let's get rid of these two zombies here that are already on the screen. So they'll be gone now. Now let's run the game. What should happen is our zombies will spawn and they'll come running at us from underneath the trees. Oh, we have an error. Spawn time. We need to set the spawn time up. Sorry, that was my bad. Let's go over here and also say spawn underscore time equals 100 and put the event inherited below the instance to create. That was my bad. So spawn time equals 100, instance to create is the zombie, and then event inherited. That will set the timers up and start the spawner. Now if we run the game, we should have zombies spawning from under these trees. They should be walking towards us. There they are. Kill the zombies. Get out of there. Shoot at the zombies. There we go. As you see, very fun, very simple game. I wouldn't say super fun, but you can see how easy it is to get a game like this up and running when you have some scripts that deal with a lot of this sort of stuff. One more thing that I can show you that will be handled with the RM2 framework is simply the pause function. The RM2 framework does handle pausing. As you see, we have this this whole trying to get out of the zombies here. If I press the escape key, you'll see it says game paused in the top left hand corner there. What's essentially happening is that is being handled by this game state variable. If you come down here and take a look at game state, you'll see it has a bunch of states. Game state.current state gives you access to some functions like playing, paused, and menu. So if you go over to your zombie, for instance, and in your step function, you say at the very top, if game state.current state equals game state dot states. Sorry, I'm waiting for the autocorrect. I think it's states. Let me double check that. It is dot states. So game state dot states. Back to zombie. Game state dot states dot playing. There we go. So if the game is currently playing, then the zombie will move towards our player. Makes it very easy to deal with game state, essentially. If I find a zombie, first of all, that's spawning and chasing us. So there we go, we've got some zombies there. If I press the escape key, you'll see now the game is paused, the zombies stop moving. If I press escape again, the game is unpaused. We can still obviously fire bullets because we haven't put any checks in for the other things. So you can go ahead and just copy this line of code and move that down to your player. You can say in your left pressed event, if game state is playing, just wrap your code for all your objects inside of this simple check. That will tell you whether or not the game is moving. Bullets even, we can simply put them in a timer over here that just says if game state.playing. I'm just copy pasting this from the zombie, the one that we wrote earlier. And then if I run the game again, what you should see, if we move, fire some bullets, and press escape, the game pauses. I haven't put it in the player's movement code, but if we unpause the game, so we can still move around, that's a pretty cool feature as well. You can, it's like the Matrix sort of thing, shooting, pause the game, move around again, unpause the game, bullets all continue moving. It's like bullet time from the Matrix. Anyway, I'm waffling on. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please go ahead and leave a like in the section below. Remember that all of the files for this video are going to be available for download. Check the links in the description where you'll find the link to download the files for this project. If you're a Patreon subscriber, those files are going to include the RM2 framework, which you'll be able to get absolutely free by simply downloading the project. Otherwise, you can find the RM2 framework over on the Game Maker Marketplace. Simply head up to the top menu that says Marketplace, click Open Marketplace, and search for RM2 framework. You'll find it very quickly and very easily. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and Merry Christmas, being Christmas time. Take care. Bye for now.